Hi, this is James Cook of the University of Maine at Augusta, and I'm shooting this video to help you work out, if you're a student of mine, or if you're just interested, the task of looking at household composition. Now, this is a textbook by Boytel and Kramer called The Sociology of Gender, and on page 93, it shows a pie chart. That pie chart describes U.S. household composition by type, various types in the United States in 2010, which is the last decennial or every 10 years U.S. Census. But while that's an interesting pie chart, it doesn't really describe the experience that you have if you're living in the United States, because you're never going to experience the entire United States. You're going to experience the town you live in, and perhaps more broadly, if you travel a bit, the general sense of the state you live in. So why don't we create pie charts that compare these categories here with these results for the United States to some results for the state you live in and the town you live in. So if you take a look at where we're going to get started for that, well, we're going to head to a website. It's called factfinder.census.gov. Factfinder.census.gov. And that factfinder.census.gov is a search engine for data just like these. A lot of data about your hometown and the state where you live. Now, to find this kind of data on household composition, if you're a student of mine, please take a look at page 93 and follow along with the video. It'll help you follow more clearly what I'm going to be doing. We're going to go to the option that says Advanced Search. And then we're going to click the button, Show Me All. And then you're going to see this handy brown area here, which has a topic or table name. To start the path toward finding this particular set of information on household composition, we're going to look, we're going to type in household and the ampersand sign, family. And you'll see there's an option in a drop-down that automatically appears that says household and family. Let's click it. And then let's click go. Now you'll see a lot of results come up. Let's make this a bit larger. But the one that will tend to be right at the top is got an ID number of DP-1. Okay, don't ask me why it has that ID number. This is a government set of statistics, and they have their own way of doing things. But that's the one you're looking for, and you notice there's a star next to it, and it says Profile of General Population and Housing Characteristics 2010. You want to make sure you get the year 2010, because we're comparing it to results here from 2010, the last decennial census. So let's click that link. Now, you're going to get a result here. It's for the United States. That's nice. And it's going to have all kinds of information in it that looks like it might not be relevant. But then if you keep scrolling down, you will find right here information on households by type. Great! Almost there, right? Almost what you need. But the problem is that this is information for the United States as a whole. And I said, hey, I want information for the town you live in and the state you live in. So what are we going to have to do? Well, let's look around the screen. I see here an option on the right in a gray box that says Back to Advanced Search. So let's go back there. And this time, we've already got our result for DP1, but let's narrow it down. You notice here, up above in this brown area, it says Refine Your Search Results. And you can, in the second bar here, the second search bar where you type something in, you can state a state, county, or place. So let's imagine I lived in New Mexico. I could type in New Mexico, and then you'll notice there's some options that come down. I'm going to select New Mexico, and I'm going to click Go. And now you'll notice in the box over to the right, it's given me over here on the upper left, excuse me, not the upper right, it's described a set of selections. I've selected Household and Family and New Mexico. So now that I've selected New Mexico as something that's limiting my selection, I can click the link for DP1 back at the top again. And this time in geography, it states I've got New Mexico. Great, this is what I want. So now I'm ready to start actually entering the data for New Mexico to create a pie chart. Okay, once I scroll down and I find households by type. Okay, I've got 3 columns. I've got one called with subject up at the top, and that's just a bunch of text which is describing what's in a particular row. Then there's numbers, and then there's percents. Now, the numbers here are percents, right? So we want percents, that last row. And now we just have to create a pie chart. How are we going to do that? We're going to go to our University of Maine accounts, which you can access by typing in my.uma.edu. That's my.uma.edu. If you're not a student of mine, you can just use a regular Google account, and that's okay. And at my.uma.edu, you would sign in with your username and password, just like this. And you're going to look for a Google tool in your Launchpad. When you click the Launchpad icon, you'll see a number of other icons pop up. They're colorful. Look for this one. This has got a green and yellow and blue kind of chopped off triangle design. That's Google Drive. And it's got a spreadsheet program in it called Google Sheets. So we're going to click Google Drive. Okay, if you're logged in, which you should be able to do if you're a student, then you should be able to click New under Drive because you're going to create a new document. And what are you going to create? You're going to create a Google Sheet, which is a spreadsheet, which is a way of organizing information and making what? Pie charts. So let's go to Google Sheets. Great, here we are. It's an untitled spreadsheet. I love it. Now I'm going to make mine a little bigger in terms of font size, so it's a little easier to see with this video. You should watch this video in high definition, and you should probably watch it in YouTube rather than in the tiny little lecture format. Okay, click in the lower right the YouTube icon in this video to watch it in full size. Okay, so we are going to have, for the state of New Mexico, then we are going to have a series of categories. What are they going to be? They're the categories that are right here on page 93. So, if you needed to press pause, if you didn't have your textbook, that's a good chance to press pause back there. Let's take a look at what those categories are. I'm going to make a little room by clicking and dragging on the line between column A and column B for those labels. The first is married couples with no children of their own under 18 in household. Wow, that's quite a category. So I'm going to make that column really big. Now we've got married couples, second, with at least one child of their own under 18 in household. Okay, oh my, what a lot of words. The third is female household with at least one child of her own under 18 in the household. A female household is a female-headed household without a male partner. And you could also have male household with at least one child of his own under 18 in the household. Moving on, we have female household with other family members, but no child of her own under 18 in the household. Wow. That's quite a mouthful. And now you've got the same, but it's going to say male, M-A-L-E. And no child of his own, because gender pronouns matter, right? Well, they're socialized in many ways to remind us that gender pronouns matter in our society, even though that's changing. And now we have individual living alone. And the final category is two or more unrelated individuals living in the household. No family relationship. Which, as your textbook authors note, is a description that is the best the census could do to capture the idea of same-sex partners. Same-sex marriage in 2010 was only legal in a very small number of states. Now it's legal everywhere. It'll be interesting to see how the census handles that change in the 2020 census. I bet someone's working on that right now, trying to figure out exactly what to do. Because what you measure affects the kind of policy decisions you can make. So now that we have these categories here, we want to be able to figure out what the percentages are for New Mexico. So let's head back to, and let's go up here and let's say we're going to click up at the top where it says Untitled Spreadsheet, and let's make sure we get a saved file. It'll auto-save as long as we have a title, and we're going to call this Household Types in My State and Town. Good. Now let's head back over to factfinder.census.gov, American Fact Finder, and let's look at our results. We want married couples with no children of their own under 18 in the household. So a married couple without young kids. So what do we have here? Well, we have a husband and wife family, that is a married couple, with their own children under 18 years of age. Oh, well, that's the second category. That's 17.9%. So we can put that in. 17.9. But what about this first category? Married couples with no children of their own under 18 in the household. Let's head back to the webpage and look again. And let's make that just, again, a shade bigger. Super. Well, here's all the husband-wife families. Here's those with children under 18 years of age, which is 17.9%. And overall, all husband-wife families, which in the 2010 census is all married couples, right, that are listed, although things have changed, as we noted. Well, that total amount is 45.3%. 45.3% of households are husband-wife families. Well, it doesn't have a listing here that says with no children of their own under 18 in the household, but we do know what percent does have children of their own under 18 years, 17.9%. So if we think about it, right, if all husband-wife families account for 45.3% of households, equals 45.3, and we subtract 17.9%, which is the share of the 45.3 that do have kids, the remainder is 27.4. Okay? If you add 27.4 and 17.9, you will get to 45.3. So you have to think about a very simple math, but you have to think about, oh, if 45.3 is all of them, including children and no children, and we know how many do have children, then we take the other bit, which is 45.3 minus 17.9. In this example, your numbers are going to be different because you'll be looking at a different state, unless you live in New Mexico. Now, what about female household with at least one child of her own under 18 in the household? Female householder with at least one child in her household. Oh, well, that's easy. Female householder with at least one child of her own, with own children under 18 years in the household. That's 7.8% here. So we can just head right over, enter that. 7.8%. What about male household with at least one child of his own in the household? Oh, male householder with own children under 18 years, 3.4%. What could be simpler? Oh, we're going to have some more thinking to do here. The female household with other family members but no children of her own under 18 in the household, no child of her own. Well, if we look back here, female household, that's 14.0% of all households in the not the United States, in New Mexico. And we know that those with children are 7.8%. So in order to figure out what percent are female householders with no children, that would be 14.0 minus 7.8, or 6.2%. There we have it. And we'll do the same thing with male households with no child of his own under 18 in the household. And we're going to head back. Male householder, 6.2. Those with children is 3.4. Those without children are 6.2 minus 3.4, or just 2.8%. Okay. What about individuals living alone? Oh, that would be non-family households. How do I know that? You see this footnote? It says footnote 7. I go down to the footnotes. Let's read the footnotes. It says, non-family households consists of people living alone and households that don't have any members related to the householder. Okay. So that's non-family households. It consists of people living alone and households that don't have any members related to the householder. Now that's two things lumped together again. Oh dear. Oh, fortunately, there's an entry for householder living alone. That's a subset of the 34.5% in New Mexico, is just 28.0% who are living alone. So I'm going to type that in, 28.0%. And what about, two or more unrelated individuals living in the household but with no family relationship? We just looked at footnote 7. I encourage you to look again. Remember that non-family households includes people living alone and those living with non-relatives. So again, we need to take 34.5%, which is all of them, minus just the people living alone, 28%. So 34.5 minus 28 is 6.5. 6.5%. Okay. Looks super good. So once we get all that information worked out, let's see what it adds up to. And I'm going to type in SUM equals sum of B2 to B9, and it'll add up to 100. That's my way of checking my math. Okay, that's good. But now I'm going to want to create a pie chart, one that looks just like this one. I'm going to click on one of these cells and drag my mouse over to select them all. Then click on Insert, and I want to insert a chart. What kind of a chart? Oh, look, it even suggests it. How about a pie chart? Gee, doesn't that kind of look like this one? It really does, except it's got more color. So let's insert. Check that out. I've got one, and I'm going to put it right here. New Mexico. I'm going to, I'm very happy with that. You know, I could make it broader, I could make it slimmer. But I've got my pie chart. It's super. I might want to make it bigger. Why would I make it bigger? Because if I make it bigger, then I will be able to interpret it more easily. You know, something like that. Super. Okay, so for New Mexico, I noticed there's a problem that's small and minor, which is that the really smallest areas don't actually have a label associated with the pie chart. I'm going to say that's okay because we're going to include the actual data up above. Okay, so let's move on and let's think about a town in New Mexico. The town of Taos. Okay, I just picked that out of the air. I was thinking about truth or consequences, but let's go with Taos. And if we go all the way back up to the top in American Fact Finder, we can click the gray bar that says Back to Advanced Search. And then you'll notice here that in my selections, I still have the state of New Mexico listed. Well, let's clear the state of New Mexico. Okay, and I do that by clicking that little blue X. And then let's type in, very particularly, the place where I live. And I'm imagining I live in Taos. T-A-O-S, not in Taos County, but Taos Town in New Mexico. And then I'll click Go. And just as before at the beginning of this video, I'll look over at the left in my selections and I'll see that Taos Town is now indicated. So if I click DP1 one last time, I'll now see in geography, always verify what you've done, Taos Town, New Mexico, and I'm going to scroll down to households by type. And I can enter the same information, excuse me. I'm going to head over to Sheets and type in Taos. Now, married couples with no children of their own and at least one child of their own. Now, married couples with at least one child of their own versus no children of their own, I'm going to have to go through the same process. Those husband-wife families with their own children is 9.7% in Taos. 9.7. And I know that all husband-wife families is 29.2. So 29.2 minus 9.7, the same logic as before, gets me to 19.5% of married couples with no children of their own, because that's all husband-wife families minus those with kids. For male householders with children, that's 3.8%. But what about male household with other family members but no child of his own under 18? Well, that is the percent of all male householders, 5.9 minus 3.8. 5.9 minus 3.8. And that's 2.1%. I'll do the same for females. Female householder, no husband present, with children is 9.7%. So I'm starting to see interesting patterns. So in Taos, there are more female households or male households, single households, and fewer married couples. Okay, that's 9.7% with one of their own. Overall, female-headed households is 15.5%. So for those without kids, I would take 15.5 and subtract 9.7 to find that 5.8% of all households are female-headed households with no children under 18. Individuals living alone, we're getting really close, is 42.4%. Very different than New Mexico overall. And finally, 2 or more unrelated individuals living in the household with no family relationship. Well, that is 49.4 minus 42.4, which is 7.0. Now I could type in equals sum parentheses C2 to C9, where those are the values of those cells, and parenthesis, and that'll add me up to 100. That's super. So to create a pie chart for Taos, if I just click on the Taos data and then select, I've also selected the New Mexico data. I don't want that. What can I do? Well, I could select all the New Mexico data, copy it, which is under Edit, Copy, or as you can see also here, Control C. And then I can head over to column D and paste it in. Whew, good. So I've saved my New Mexico data over there. Now I can click on Taos and drag down, select all those cells, and again, copy, and then I could either paste by using this command or Control V, and there's my Taos data. And now if I wanted to, I could just move the New Mexico data back over here to make it nice. And guess what I can do? Now Taos is in the right place. I can select all that data. I can insert my chart. And here's going to be my Taos data. I can insert it. And then if I would like, I can drag that down. Let's put it beneath the New Mexico pie chart. Why do I want you to do this? Because I'd like you to be able to answer all kinds of questions about household composition in the future when you think about gender. And you want to create your own pie charts, you want to create reports, you want to have a senior project that maybe compares different states, different towns. It's a good skill to have. And when you do that, you need to figure out how to work through the vagaries of a spreadsheet program. And here's one of them. So now you have, for your assignment, almost all the information you need. Almost all of it. And in fact, all you're going to need to do is share it with me, and then you're going to need to talk about it. I want you to interpret the differences between the United States overall tendencies for 2010, the New Mexico, in my case, New Mexico, in your case, the state where you live, the trends for that state, and the town where you live, the trends for that town. By the way, if you live in maybe an unincorporated area, just pick a town nearby, and that should be fine. Take that information, look at it, think about it, and look at all the differences. Like I can tell you, 27% of Americans overall are living alone, but in Taos, 42.4% of them are living alone. That's huge, right? What about 2 or more unrelated individuals living in the household together? 6% in the United States, 7% in Taos, and in New Mexico, what is it? 6.5%. So now those are all pretty close, okay? So not a big difference there. A huge difference in terms of in New Mexico and then also in Taos, those people who are living alone. You have information about households. Now you can do a comparative study. I like it. I want you to be able to upload this information into Blackboard. To do that, I want you to save it. I don't want you to send me a link. I want you to save it and then upload it in Blackboard. And you can do that by going to File and then Download as PDF document. If you had a whole lot of trouble and you didn't know how to move it over to Blackboard, you could print it, and you could then take a picture of the printout if you have a good camera. That's another option. A final option is that you could open it on a different computer. So if you're working with this on a Mac computer that doesn't have all the options that a regular PC computer does, you could have this work be saved, go to a school computer or a library computer that is a PC, open up the document again, and then you could save it as a PDF there. So there are a lot of ways for you to work around similarities and differences. But once you have this data and you have your interpretation, I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of interpretation you come up with. It should be pretty interesting. Okay, best of luck in your work, and I look forward to finding out a little bit more about the world, the corner of the world in which you live.